All right, hey everybody, welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. So we're just going to watch another video of someone who paid off debt, this time 90K in 22 months, which is really impressive. And once we watch this video, then we're just going to try paying off debt ourselves in our own simulation using something that used to be called Velocity Banking, but it no longer is. Okay, so let's go ahead and watch.
Let's discuss some things that I did to get out of debt, $90,000 worth of debt that a lot of people might consider to be extreme, but this was just a part of my journey, okay? So, for one, I literally cleared out every non retirement investment account and threw it at my debt, which is crazy because a lot of people are like, what about the time in the market? I don't know, you guys. Like, at the time, I can't even justify it. Like, I literally just was like, I had a couple $1,000s in like a Robinhood. I literally cleared that out. Anything that was not like Roth or 401k literally was cleared out and thrown at the debt. I was like, I'm gonna figure the rest out on the back end. I was trying to expedite the process. I don't know if I would recommend for y'all to do that, but that's something I did just to fasten the process. Something else I did, which a lot of people probably would not agree with me, I literally stopped investing altogether. And okay, so it took me 22 months to pay off the debt. So I started September of 23 and I finished paying off debt in May of 25. Okay, so from September of 23 all the way until January of 25, I did not invest at all. So in my mind already of 2023, I was contributing to my Roth IRA. I can't remember if I maxed it out, but if I didn't, I came very close to it. So I was already good for 2023. 2024, I didn't invest at all. But with the Roth IRA, you could catch up with it on the back end or the front end of 2025. So that's what I ended up doing. I did not max out the 2024 Roth, but I was able to max out my 2025 Roth IRA earlier this year in 2026. And now I'm working on maxing out my 2026 Roth IRA. Also, at the time, I did not have a 401k at my job. So that wasn't an option of them matching or me losing money from that aspect because I just didn't have it. I only had a Roth IRA. But yeah, that's what I did to get out of debt quickly. It took me 22 months altogether. And baby, I love it on the side. Let's discuss.
I wonder what her net worth is because she says 100K net worth journey. So how much does she have in investments? But that's good that she paid off 90K of debt in 22 months. So let's go ahead and get started to pay off debt and do it on our own terms slash simulation. And by the way, I don't know if you've seen this or not, but I am developing this video game called Velocity Debt Cannonball 7 Mortgage Redemption. Pay off your mortgage faster than a choco bank. No, I'm just kidding. This is totally not real. But wouldn't it be cool? And the reason I made this image on Google Gemini or Google Gemini generate this image is because I've been playing the remake of Final Fantasy VII on my Nintendo Switch 2. And to be honest, that game is really impressive on the Nintendo Switch 2. But every other game on the Nintendo Switch 2 has kind of been like low effort. But anyways, so let's go ahead and get started to pay off debt. And so here we have our spreadsheet, our budget. So we have $5,500 of income, $4,810.38 expenses. In our leftover checking savings, we have $689. Now, normally when we do this, we usually do it where it's like almost zero or possibly slightly negative cash flow, but we're positive cash flow today. So we're feeling a little bit better than most of our scenarios because most of the scenarios are break even. And when we do our budget, we have to list every single debt that we have: three credit cards, an auto loan, a mortgage, and on top of that, we have to list all of our general expenses that are not debt. So make sure that you list every single debt as its own line item, and then you could just kind of put all your non-debt expenses you always have to pay for every single month into its own line item. And you could just put like an average per month, right? And so this is what we're going to do. We're going to have the same income, same expenses, right? And then we're going to um, do something so crazy that most of you will think I'm insane, which is not save money. So this is what we do here. We don't call it velocity banking. It's kind of like the artist formerly known as Prince. It's the method formerly known as velocity banking. It is the velocity debt cannonball method. That's the new name of it. I adopted it from a commenter on this channel. I initially said I stole it, and then the guy who put the comment said, no, 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 you didn't steal, you adopted. So I'll just say for this video, I adopted that that name. The artist formerly known as Velocity Banking, and this is actually real when I tell you this. The State Department of Illinois Financial whatever sent a cease and desist letter to a popular YouTuber about using and selling Velocity banking services, right? Because it's like you're not a bank and you're using the word banking, so therefore we don't like that and we're going to fine you, right? Cease and desist. That's essentially what happened. Now, luckily, I don't sell any Velocity banking services, but I'm a content creator, right? But I just got to get the word out of what's going on in the regulatory space because you really don't know until like people take action against you, or unless you're doing something blatantly criminal, right? And you don't want to do either one of those, right? You don't want to be in the government's hair, and obviously, if you're an honest person, the likelihood of you getting in the government's hair is just very much more lower than you being blatantly criminal, right? I'm not a lawyer, but I think it's common sense. All right, so anyways, so what we're going to do is increase this thing called our cash flow. Okay, so our cash flow is $689.62, right? And then here, we're going to assume we have access to a line of credit, okay? But before we talk about the line of credit, let's do this. So what we're going to do is we're going to use something called the cash flow index. So the cash flow index is your debt amount divided by the payment, right? That's what the cash flow index is. And so what you do is you do this with every single debt, and then you rank them from smallest to largest, okay? This is the order in which you will pay off your debt, and anything under 50 you really definitely want to pay off because what the number represents is how much bang you get for your buck for paying off the debt. So for example, if I pay off this mortgage, I literally have to give someone $230,000 to only get $1,400 back. Whereas if I pay off these credit cards, I probably get around almost what, 1,000. So, would you pay off these credit cards to get almost $1,000 back in your cash flow, or $230,000 to get $1,400 back? Right. So it's about bang for your buck. So that's why um, we pay off the low cash flow index numbers first. Okay. Now, how much credit card debt do we have? It's 5, 8, 15. So to some people, this is a lot of debt, and to others, this is not that much. But it's 28,000. So what we're gonna do is we're going to assume we have access to maybe a $30,000 home equity line of credit. We are a homeowner, right? So maybe we're in a cheaper market. $200,000 is cheap these days because I think the average home price is about 400. But let's just assume that we have a $30,000 home equity line of credit. Okay. So now, okay, what we're going to do is just move this debt into the line of credit. And if you don't know what a line of credit is, it's basically a financial tool. You could borrow money, pay it back, and then use it over and over again. So a credit card is technically a line of credit, but it's not as flexible as personal or home equity lines of credit, right? Because with personal or home equity lines of credit, I could literally go to a bank's website, click a button, and then they'll dump cash into my checking account pretty much instantaneously at like a 8%, 8 to 15% interest rate usually, right? And so let's go ahead and move $28,000 of our credit card debt into the line of credit. Okay, that's what we're in, $28,000. Now, guess what happens here? Oh my goodness, right? All three credit cards go to zero. Remember, this is just like a balance transfer, right? And so this $689.62 magically went up to $1,600 without making more money. So you see how amazing this is just by shuffling some debt and just making sure that we don't save money, then we've increased our cash flow. See, a lot of times what happens is that a lot of people think like I need to save money. I need to save money first, and that's like what would you call it? Like a sign of financial health. So what we're going to do is instead of saving money is just we're going to put all of our money into debt and use our line of credit as our quote main operating account. And then the final step after that is we're going to put our entire paycheck into that line of credit, take our expenses out, and then rinse and repeat over and over again. That's all this is, right? Paycheck into the line of credit, expenses out, rinse and repeat over and over again. And so how do we mathematically approximate this? Take the previous month's balance, previous month's interest minus the cash flow, 1612.12. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the average daily balance, multiply it by the interest rate, and divide by 12. By the way, I should probably mention this. I didn't mention this yet. But would the bank give you a free and clear line of credit if you don't have that much left over? Now, usually we've done scenarios where we have like $0 or $1 left over, and then, or sometimes a negative. And I can for sure say that the bank will not give you a free and clear line of credit at that point. $689, I don't know, right? I don't know. But when is the bank most likely going to give us money? When we don't need it. Banks don't lend money to people who need it, right? So what happens is that people see these videos and they're like, oh my goodness, I'm so excited about this and I'm broke because I have too much debt. I need to get a line of credit. And when you go to a bank for a line of credit at that point, they will say no, right? Because banks don't lend money to people who need it. And the way that you have to think of a bank is kind of like a useful vampire, right? A vampire does not want to see someone whose blood has been drained by other vampires, right? Which is like a person who has too much debt, and a person who has too much debt is essentially getting their money drained by the bank, right? A vampire wants to see somebody who's fresh, full of blood, fresh, full of blood. That is why a bank, when they see a person who needs money, is like that. There's no blood for me to drain. I can't drain any blood. Okay. But when they see someone who does not need money, that's like, whoa, that person has their body is full of blood. That's what the bank is thinking when they lend money to people who don't need it. Okay. And also, the bank thinks you're a bad person if you need money because people who need money don't tend to pay back. Just remember that. All right, so now let's go ahead and do this and see. So the final step is we're deliberately not going to save money. So this $5,500 is going to go into the line of credit. You take your expenses out and then rinse and repeat over and over again. And so after every single month, $1,600 the balance should go down on the line of credit plus some interest, right? And we're taking into account the interest, and it still goes down. And we see that, let's see how much here, that the balance of the line of credit goes down to zero at 19 months. 19 months, right? And so I'm just going to do this 19 months. That's a milestone. And then we're going to pay off 28K. And we're going to do this right here. And then look at this auto loan and mortgage. So, how much was that? That was 28,000. Okay, that's cool. And then we got the auto loan and the mortgage. And then let's just do this. And that's at month 19. So we have this loan calculator right here where we can just put in the current month and then it'll give us the current balance and then the cash flow index. And so let's go ahead and do this. This is the lowest ranking one below 50. And so we can safely put it into the line of credit. I'm just going to do this right here. And then this is going to be plus 17484.68. And then, okay, this is going to be zero. And then now we have $2,000 of cash flow, right? $2,000 of cash flow. So let's go ahead and do this and update the cash flow just by simply moving the auto loan into the line of credit. So 2061.34. And then we're going to go ahead and copy and paste. And then we see that the car loan has been paid off by month 28 months. Okay. So now what we do here is do 28 months. And then this will be 28 plus 25. And that's going to be 53K. Okay. And then here we have 230,000. Okay, 230,000, 6.4%. What is the current balance at 28 months? So we just go right here, 28. And now we see that this is the current balance. Okay. Now here's the thing. Our line of credit is only 30,000, but even if we had, let's say, $1 million line of credit, should we move the 6.4% mortgage into the $1 million line of credit? The answer to that is probably not, right? You hear this all the time on the internet about how all loans bad, line of credit good. That's really not true, okay? Because if we move this $223,000, and remember this cash flow index number, we're only getting this itty bitty amount of cash flow back. So what we're doing is that we're moving this whole balance into an 8% line of credit, and so now it's kind of like we're paying more interest than we have to if we move to a line of credit. But let me show you this. Even if we use a 15 or 30% line of credit, but we just partially move the balance of the loan into the line, we could still pay it off quickly, and we'll still save interest. Now, here's the thing. Obviously, we want the lowest interest rate line of credit, but even at 15, 30%, you might slightly overpay. But okay, the reason why you might want to do this is because it makes it easier to pay off because we're not doing something called segregation of income, right? So you don't know what segregation of income is. It's basically your money comes in, it gets split all over the place, and then you put the leftover in checking and savings, right? And why is it split all over the place? Because you have too many debt. And the way that the bank makes money is that you have one debt here, one debt there, and you're essentially making minimum payments on everything. That's how the bank makes money. No bank wants you to pay them off really, really quickly, right? And one of the ways that people essentially get their life force drained is just by making too many minimum payments. Segregation income. So that's one reason why you might want to move your part of your loan into a line of credit and just keep dumping it so we stop segregating our income. Um, but if you don't want to do that and just put the extra $2,000 into as an extra payment, like you can certainly do so. But I guarantee you that 95%, 97% of people don't do that, right? They're just making the monthly payment, trying to save money, and then wondering why they paid like double for the house, okay? So if you want to know what I'm talking about, there's this thing called chunking where you just move a piece of a loan into the line. And let me just put the details here. What's the current balance of the loan? 223,616.27. So 223,616.27. And then let me just do this. So what's the income? The income is 5,500. And let me just put $6,000 here. So this chunk amount is the amount that we move from a loan to a line. And then it says it'll get paid off in 6.6 years. Now let's just do this. I'm going to put, 15%, right? So I'm guessing that it's actually going to be a couple grand more, but let's just check. Yeah, 2 grand more. Okay. So we will literally double the interest rate or almost double the interest rate, and it's just 2 grand more. Okay. Now let's do 30%. So that's 5 grand more. So it's 7 grand more from switching from an 8 to 30% line of credit, right? So that should show you that it's okay. Even though you're using a higher interest rate line of credit, it's not necessarily the end of the world compared to, let's say, an 8 to, so 6 to 8% 30-year mortgage, and you're just making monthly payments for that 30 years. See, that's a disaster. But obviously, we want to use the lowest interest rate tool possible if we're going to use this route. Now, you don't have to use this route. Now, the reason I prefer, it's just me, is that it just makes it easier to put all of your money into one place. And therefore, you know, you can really destroy that debt, right? Anyways, all right. So now 6.6 years, we're mortgage free. So I'm just going to do this right here. So this is now 0. Okay, so now this is 28. Divide by 12 plus 6.6, and then that's 8.93 years, and then we are debt free. Okay, 8.93 years, we're debt free, so that's 230 plus 53, and so that's 283K. Now, at this point, this is what we could do. We could just decide to invest in real estate. So I know this lady here was like, I kind of liquidated all my investments. And, I don't know how long it'll take to get 100K, but I'm going to tell you something. When you invest in real estate, you know how to do it right. Getting to 100K is actually pretty easy. You just don't, all you got to do is buy homes under market value, right? Homes under market value, you fix it up and you either sell it or maybe rent it out if you're able to keep it and it's cash flowing. But yeah, that's pretty much probably easy way to get to 100, what was I saying? 100K? No, not 100K. Yeah, no, it is actually. So, all right. Anyways, yeah, that's it for today, folks. Creating Lifetime Mentorship. Have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next video.